Good morning. Today's video is going to be on the circle from Meyer's handwork. I'm going to work through some of these. It's going to be a little bit out of order just because I did the circle last week in class, and so I thought I would make a video for the students because we are back in session. And the circle is a nice one because I think it lends to some good kind of physical dexterity that you're working on. So I'm going to read the translation from the 1561 because this was on the top of my stack and I haven't really used this one very much in these videos, so it's kind of fun to play with a slightly earlier translation, although it's pretty close. So here's what Meyer has to say about the circle. Let the circle connect, hold your hands high if you wish to deceive him. The circle also comes from the crooked cuts, Krampau, and it is a particularly good technique for deceiving compared to others, since it does not run off without connecting, as do other deceiving techniques, like running off and such. But if you do it rightly, the circle hits very hard with the half edge as it runs by. Execute this technique as follows, and then here's the example we get. After you have come up under his sword with the attack, and you stand before your opponent in the bind, sending your sword up above your head. As soon as he allows you space and does not bind after your sword, but also sends his sword point high, then cross your hands in the air and cut down from above at his right ear in this cross position with the short edge, so that whether it hits or not, your blade runs around past beside his right arm in a circle. And meanwhile, keep your hands up over your head. As soon as he slips after the circle, then step with your left foot well out to his right side and cut his head with the long edge behind his blade over his right arm. Take your body well out from his stroke on your left side as you step. So the scenario we're given is that we have struck and we've come up to a bind and the sword comes up high. This is not something you're going to do if you're kind of in a mid-height bind where their point is in your face. That's not particularly safe. So this is definitely, we've kind of hit and come up a little bit. Meyer says when the opponent allows you space. And you can certainly do that. If you both end up in this high bind and the opponent's not giving you pressure, they come off your sword a little bit and you're free to move, that's great. My inclination in fights is to try to direct the action a little bit. I prefer to be proactive and force my opponent to make mistakes rather than just take advantage of mistakes that they make. That's not the only way, that's just the way I naturally tend to fight. So what I have found when I have come into this position and want to use this technique in sparring, that when we come to this high bind, I will give a little knock. So I will actually punch my hand out to the side and create that space. Also, because I place a premium on power, I want to be able to cut well. If I come from here and I just turn, I can definitely hit them, but I don't feel like I have as much power as if I start the motion to my right with a clearing just a little bit. We're not shoving way over, but it's just a little knock to create a little space, and then we can step out and do this cross-arm back edge cut to the opponent's right ear. So this is important. We've come to the high bind, our point is out to the side, their point is out here. If you're doing it the way I like to, I'm going to give it a little knock, and then I'm going to come, I'm doing a descending cut to their right ear. And now this is the interesting thing, and luckily, because I didn't plan it, there's a previous video that talks about hanging our transitions on the same side, because that's what's going to end up happening. So we've done this knock, we've stepped out, we've done this crossed-armed back edge cut, we're going to let it run off, and then rather than come back around, and this is where the deceiving piece comes in, when we run around, you kind of see I end up maybe in a slightly hang guard position. I'm going to roll out to the same side again. And that's really what makes this particularly tricky. I think if we hit, when we come to the back edge, the natural feeling people are going to have is that we're going to come back around to the other side. And that is a nice, easy, natural motion that delivers a very hard cut. So it's not a bad thing. But if we want to take advantage of people expecting that, we kind of uncross to the same side. So that's what we're looking at. So if I put this all together, we've come up to this high bind, little knock, back edge cut, and then out to the same side. And this is where you get that kind of extreme position. We're being told to come out and take our head away. So we're going to look like this, which looks quite a bit like the picture in the plate. So that works out pretty well. So when I practice this on my pelt, I usually, because I'm kind of trying to picture it, I'll have my right foot back, I'll come in and hit, and then I will collect a little bit closer. Because usually this high bind is when the two opponents end up a little closer together than kind of mid-range. So I will hit and come up because my hands are high, my point is high. I give it the little knock, and then I really want to keep my hands high, and I want to be able to come down with the back edge, and then unwind to the front edge on the same side. So if I do this at the camera, hit high bind, step off back edge, roll out to the same side. So we're going to come back edge, front edge is what's happening. So again, high bind, little knock, back edge, front edge. So if I'm practicing this on the pedal, boom, little knock, back edge, front edge. And you can do it with kind of a single step out or a double step out. It really kind of depends how the opponent is reacting. The reason Meyer tells us specifically keep your hands high. If we do this and I come like this, or even if I do the first one and then come low, I'm not protecting my head, and there sort of is over there somewhere. So I want to make sure that I have the dexterity to do the back edge with high hands and the front edge with high hands. Don't let your hands come down into your sternum level. You're not going to be very safe. One more time on the pedal. And then one more time facing the camera. So that's the example of the circle that we were given. Go ahead and play with that. If it's an awkward feeling motion, and it might be if you haven't done this motion before, that's okay, just slow it down. And I think that once you get used to that, you can start playing with this circling motion and turn it into other things. That's why we're told it's really good for deceiving. And I will see you all next time.